Welcome back to the deep dive. We cut through the noise for you. And today, we're diving deep into Sean Diddy Combs, a huge name, obviously, but now caught in this massive legal storm. So the big question after that recent federal verdict, what does it actually mean for him, for the whole industry?
Exactly. And we're going to really unpack that federal verdict. We'll look at, the immediate fallout, what's going on with his businesses now, and this huge waves of civil lawsuits still facing him. We've pulled together a lot, news reports, the legal filings themselves, some analysis pieces, just to give you the clearest picture possible.
Right. So our mission here is to give you that shortcut, get you past the headlines, understand the nuances, maybe some surprising details, and the context that really matters. Okay, so let's get right into it. The big news, July 2nd, 2025. The verdict in the federal sex trafficking trial. What was the actual outcome?
Well, it was a split verdict, which is really key here. Combs, he's 55 now. He was acquitted, found not guilty of the most serious charges. That's the racketeering conspiracy and the specific sex trafficking charge linked to Cassie Ventura.
Okay, so acquitted on the big ones.
Yes. But he was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. And these are felonies under the federal Mann Act.
The Mann Act. That name sounds, I don't know, kind of old-fashioned. How does a law that old even apply here? What is it?
It's a good question because, yeah, it sounds dated. It was originally passed way back in 1910. Back then, it was about stopping transport of women across state lines for prostitution, debauchery, or any other immoral purpose. Pretty broad language.
Right.
But it got a major update in 1986. They made it gender neutral and basically changed it to prohibit transporting anyone for any sexual activity for which any person could be charged with a criminal offense.
Okay, so broader now.
Much broader. And crucially, prosecutors don't have to prove prostitution was the only reason for the transport. Just that it was a significant or motivating purpose.
Got it. So convicted on 2 counts under this modernized Mann Act, what kind of time is he potentially looking at?
Well, each count carries a maximum of 10 years in federal prison.
Okay.
And the prosecutors have already said they're pushing for the max on both.
Mm-hmm.
So that adds up to 20 years, potentially.
20 years, wow. And what happened right after the verdict?
Bail. His defense team jumped right on that. Argued for his release, proposed $1 million bond, travel restrictions, giving up his passport, all the usual stuff.
Okay.
But prosecutors fought back hard. They argued he should stay detained given the convictions.
And his reaction in court, I heard it was pretty dramatic. How did he actually respond when he heard the verdict?
Yeah, it was something. Reports say when he heard not guilty on the racketeering and the Cassie charge, he put his hand to his face, fingers on his temples. Looked like relief. Then, apparently he was startled when the first guilty came down, but then he sort of composed himself, held his lawyer's hand, made prayer hands to his family, to the jury, nodded, smiled, even mouthed, thank you.
And then?
Then he actually knelt down and prayed right there on the courtroom floor. His family started cheering, whistling. It was quite a scene. He apparently said something like, I'm coming home.
Wild. Okay, so the trial itself started back in May 2025, ran for 7 weeks. Some really intense testimony came out. Let's get into those core allegations.
Absolutely. And central to the whole thing was Cassie Ventura's testimony. She was identified as victim 1 in the case. She was on the stand for 4 days.
4 days. That's rough.
Yeah, really harrowing stuff. She talked about years of alleged abuse, described these drug-fueled sex sessions Combs apparently called freak-offs, said she felt forced to participate.
Right.
And she talked about physical violence, too, including that 2016 hotel incident, the one caught on surveillance video, where he's seen beating and kicking her. He did apologize publicly for that later, but yeah.
And didn't she also mention the settlement?
She did, yeah. Revealed in court that her civil lawsuit from 2023, the one that settled really quickly, she settled it for $20 million, said she'd initially asked for $30 million.
$20 million, okay.
Yeah.
Was she the only one with that kind of testimony? Were there others?
Yes, definitely. There was another key witness, a former girlfriend, who testified anonymously as Jane.
Okay.
She described what she called hotel nights, said they involved drugs, and that she was coerced into having sex with male escorts while Combs watched, even when she protested.
Wow.
Yeah, she testified she felt really pressured and also financially dependent on him, which made it hard to say no.
So with testimony like that, so graphic, so personal, what was the defense strategy? How did they counter all this?
Their main line was that everything was consensual. They actually showed a message from Cassie from 2009, apparently saying something like, I'm always ready to freak off.
Trying to frame it differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They argued the prosecution was, quote, badly exaggerating what they called just a swinger lifestyle with some recreational drug use, trying to say it wasn't racketeering, just lifestyle choices.
Did Combs testify?
No, he chose not to. And his lawyers didn't call any witnesses at all.
Really?
None. None. Their whole strategy seemed to be focused on cross-examining the prosecution's witnesses, trying to undermine their credibility, and then arguing that the prosecution just hadn't met that high-bar proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay. So beyond the courtroom, this whole thing has obviously had huge repercussions for his business empire, his public image. It felt like things started falling apart even before the trial.
Oh, absolutely. The collapse, or at least the major cracks, started showing well before his arrest. He stepped down from Revolt TV, the network he founded, later divested completely. That was big.
Yeah.
Then reports of a lost Hulu reality show deal, and his fashion brand, Sean John, basically disappeared from Macy's. Used to be everywhere.
And then that Cassie video came out in May 2024. That seemed to accelerate things.
Totally. It was a huge turning point in the public eye. After that video surfaced, New York City took back his key to the city. Peloton yanked his music. Howard University rescinded his honorary degree. Even his charter school in Harlem cut ties.
Wow. Just one thing after another.
Yeah. And he also settled that big fight with Diageo, the liquor giant. Had to give up control of Ciroc vodka and De Leon tequila.
Yeah.
Those were massive moneymakers for him.
Right. Huge brands. But what about the music itself? Bad Boy Records, the foundation, is that gone too?
You know, surprisingly, no. Not entirely. His music catalog, all those hits, still widely available. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. It's all there.
Ah.
And Bad Boy Records, the label, it's technically still operational, although, no major new releases have been announced.
Any recent activity?
Well, his 2023 album, the Love Album, Off the Grid, actually got a Grammy nomination. Same for Janelle Monáe's album, The Age of Pleasure, which came out through Bad Boy.
So still some industry recognition despite everything.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, back in 2023, he did return publishing rights to a bunch of former Bad Boy artists and songwriters. That was a big move, addressed some long-standing criticism.
What about streaming numbers? Did people stop listening, or did the controversy boost interest?
It fluctuated. There was actually a bump, maybe 20% in his U.S. streams around April, May 2025, right when Cassie and Kid Cudi were testifying. Sort of that morbid curiosity effect, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
But then it dropped off again, maybe 5–10% in June.
Yeah.
But honestly, for someone at his level, streaming income is tiny compared to the other stuff.
Right, the brand deals, the liquor.
Exactly. Those losses, the fashion line disappearing, the Revolt deal gone.
Yeah.
That's where the real financial hit is. This verdict, even with the acquittals, has really damaged the broader business empire. It forces a total rethink of his financial model.
He also had that newer venture, Empower Global, aimed at supporting Black-owned businesses. What happened with that?
Yeah, Power Global.
Yeah.
Launched in 2023, an online marketplace, positioned as the kind of Black Wall Street. He apparently put $20 million of his own money in.
Big investment.
Huge. Started with about 70 brands, aiming for over 200. But reports surfaced late last year, late 2023, that several brands were pulling out. Cited disappointing performance, but also, growing concerns about the allegations against him.
Okay, so the criminal trial is done, verdict's in. But you mentioned civil lawsuits. It sounds like that battle is just heating up.
That's exactly right. The fight just shifts arenas, really, moves to civil court. And the key thing to remember there, like we said, is the burden of proof is way lower.
Right, not beyond a reasonable doubt.
No, just preponderance of the evidence. Basically, is it more likely than not that the claims are true? Much easier bar to clear.
So more risk for him there, financially.
Huge financial risk. And attorney Tony Busby, who represents several alleged victims, he didn't waste any time. Hours after the verdict, he filed 3 new civil suits against Combs in Nevada and California. And he said, more to come. His exact words were, "We will still march on."
Wow. Okay. So what kind of allegations are we seeing in these civil cases? Are they similar to the criminal trial or broader?
They are broad. Very broad. I mean, you have Cassie's original suit from November 23, alleging trafficking, assault, abuse, settled super fast.
Right.
But then others popped up almost immediately. Liza Gardner filed November 23, claiming she was forced into sex at 16, way back in 1990.
16.
Yeah. Then another Jane Doe filed December 23, alleging rape and trafficking by Combs, and the former Bad Boy president, Harve Pierre, when she was 17, back in 2003.
So a pattern of targeting young women, allegedly.
That's certainly what the lawsuits allege. Then you have Lil Rod Jones, the producer. His suit from February 24 had all sorts of claims being pressured to get sex workers unwanted groping, drug-laced drinks.
That one named Cuba Gooding Jr. too, right?
It did, yeah. It was amended later to include claims against him. And the core claims of sexual abuse against Combs are still active in that suit.
It's a lot. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah. Even Diddy's own son, Christian King Combs, got sued in April 2024. Allegations that he sexually assaulted a woman on a yacht, Diddy charted. Diddy's named too, accused of enabling it, covering it up.
On his father's yacht. Incredible.
And Dawn Richard, from the group Danity Kane. She sued in September 2024. Sex trafficking, assault, battery, false imprisonment, claiming years of abuse.
Okay, I remember hearing about one lawsuit that seemed particularly complex, naming a lot of companies.
Ah, yes. LaTroya Grayson. Her lawsuit, filed December 2024, is really detailed. It stems from a Diddy Black Party back in 2006. She was there as a guest of a contest winner.
Okay.
She alleges she was drugged, assaulted, woke up in a hospital, ripped clothes, missing underwear, no shoes, money gone. Last memory was being at the party.
That's terrifying.
And she says she later got an anonymous threatening call, telling her basically not to bother going after a celebrity.
Chilling. And she sued more than just Combs.
Yes, and this is key. She sued Combs and Bad Boy, of course, but also Atlantic Records, who organized the contest, Delta Airlines, who provided flights, the radio station, KJAMZ 105.3, the Roger Smith Hotel, where they stayed.
Why sue all of them?
She's accusing all of them of participating in a RICO enterprise.
RICO organized crime stuff in this context.
Exactly. RICO is the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Usually you hear about it with the mob. But in civil cases, it alleges a pattern of criminal activity involving multiple parties working together as an enterprise.
So she's saying these companies were somehow part of the problem.
Essentially, yes. That through their actions, or maybe inaction, they're part of a system that enabled or facilitated the alleged misconduct related to Combs. It potentially makes them liable, too. Huge implications if that holds up.
That really widens the scope. Any other notable suits in this web?
Well, Jay-Z was briefly named in one suit, but it was dropped, and then he filed his own defamation case. And Kirk Burroughs, who co-founded Bad Boy, he sued Diddy's mother and others earlier this year, claiming they illegally took his ownership stake.
So family, business partners, corporations, it's hitting everywhere.
Absolutely. And like we said, the financial risk here is immense. Even without the longest possible prison sentence from the criminal trial, these civil suits could absolutely gut what's left of his finances and reputation. They reach into boardrooms, affect brand deals. It's a different kind of pressure.
It really feels like this whole thing has been building for a while. Maybe walk us through the timeline again. How did we get from initial rumors to this point?
Sure. It really kicked off publicly, you could say, November 2023. Cassie files that civil suit.
Yeah.
Settles it the next day. That opened the floodgates, really. More suits followed quickly.
Okay.
February 2024, you get the Lil Rod lawsuit with those explosive producer allegations.
And then the raids happened, right? That felt like a big escalation.
Huge. March 2024, federal agents raid his homes in Miami and L.A. Very public, very dramatic. His lawyer called it gross use of military-level force.
Right.
Then May 2024, CNN drops that 2016 hotel video of the assault on Cassie. That leads to his public apology. Fast forward to September 2024, he's arrested in NYC. Grand jury indictment. Charges include racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, the Mann Act violations. He pleads not guilty.
And he had trouble getting bail.
He did. Denied twice, October and November 24. Prosecutors argued he tried to contact witnesses from jail. His team called that unsubstantiated, argued he wasn't a flight risk, that he needed to fight the charges to rebuild his reputation.
But the federal system is different for bail.
Yeah, it focuses heavily on flight risk and danger to the community. And for someone with his resources, private jet, wealth, plus those witness tampering allegations, it worked against him. The judge kept him detained. Then, John, through April 2025, the indictment gets updated. More details, eventually 5 charges total. His lawyers start arguing racist prosecution.
And then the trial.
May 2025, trial starts. Jury selection, opening statements, Cassie testifies, Jane testifies. June 2025, jury starts deliberating after 6 weeks. Combs confirms he won't testify. Defense arrests without calling witnesses. And then, July 2nd, 2025, the verdict we discussed.
It's quite a timeline. So putting it all together, what are the big takeaways here? What does this mean for the wider world beyond just Diddy himself? It feels like it touches on so much power, accountability, the industry.
Definitely. There are major implications, especially for hip-hop. You see analysis, like from the Columbia Journal of Law and the Arts, raising concerns about what they call logistical retaliation. Meaning a fear that record labels might pull back, exert more control, invest less, especially in black artists in hip-hop and rap. because of this case.
Mm.
There's a worry it could actually reinforce bad historical patterns if the industry reacts poorly.
Unintended consequences.
Potentially. And then, more broadly, you absolutely have to see this in the context of the #MeToo movement. It's another major test case about accountability for extremely powerful figures. It shows that, yes, even someone seemingly untouchable can face consequences, but it also shows how incredibly long and complicated that path to justice can be, playing out in criminal court, civil court, the court of public opinion, all at once. So yeah, we've walked through this really complex legal situation around Sean Diddy Combs. We saw the federal verdict acquittal on the biggest charges, but convictions on others. We've seen his empire take massive hits, his image completely fractured.
And like you said, it's clearly not over. These civil cases are lined up. The ripple effects are still spreading through music, entertainment, everywhere. So reflecting on this deep dive, what's the big thing that stays with you?
I guess the provocative thought to leave you with is this, as this whole thing keeps playing out. What's the real lasting legacy going to be? Not just for Diddy, the person, but for the music industry itself. How does it operate after this? How does it really hold powerful people accountable? And can it finally start to break these cycles of, well, alleged violence and exploitation that have too often been hidden behind all the glitz and glamour